Broadcasting from the Any Hour Services Podcast Studios, I'm your host, Mike Wilson, and on this episode of In the House, we're going to be talking about the plumbing part of a kitchen remodel. Let's go. In the House is a podcast about the major systems in the house: electrical, plumbing, heating, and air conditioning. Each week, I'm joined by a panel of experts. We pick a topic and we discuss it in depth. It's meant to be informative and hopefully bring you some value. I've got Ricky, Scott, and Dwayne with me today. They're the management team over the plumbing department at Any Hour Services. And, you know, a couple of weeks ago, if you are a fan of the show and you listen religiously, like I know all of you do, you probably remember when I was meeting with the electricians, we were talking about kitchen remodels, and we started and we talked about the electrical portion and the electrical that was involved in doing that, because I myself am in the process. I'm in that planning stage of remodeling my kitchen. I'm in an older home, small kitchen. I've always wanted more counter space, and so we're to the point, saved a little cheddar. Now we're going to change this thing up. And so being the host of the show, I get to direct where the conversation goes. So these episodes are totally selfish. This is my prep. My wife asks me questions. She's like, do you know what you're doing? And I'm like, yeah,
absolutely.
Confidence. Portray it, fellas, to your wives. I also have seen there's this trend going around on TikTok, and it talks about it totally mocks how men will start a project and then not finish it. I know you probably never do. That would drive you crazy, Ricky. But for the average man like myself, I still need some baseboard put into the bathroom downstairs in the remodel. I was going to save a little money I can put the baseboard in the bathroom. I've got let's say that there's 4 walls in a room, right? Mm-hmm. I put baseboard on 2 of them. 1, 2, and my wife's like, when are you ever going to finish that? Every year in the bathroom.
Did you put it behind the toilet? Mm-mm. That was the one you left out, huh?
No, there was 2 that I left out. And the thing is, the reason I left it out, I ran out of baseboard. And then the next week started, and I just never went back to...
How long ago was that?
Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to.
I really do want to know.
It was several years ago.
Oh, my.
But wait, it gets better. So in the process that we talked about, I'm doing this kitchen remodel, right? It's part of a bigger plan upstairs. I've got a really small house, so it's really easy to do one room. And in our family room, we needed to replace the carpet and get a new couch and do some things. And we were going to paint the room as well. And so pulled up the carpet. I was doing the demo. So I pulled up the carpet. I pulled off the baseboards because I'm like, I'm going to save some money and do the baseboards. You see where this is going? So
he took the base molding from upstairs and took it downstairs.
No, not that bad. That would have been such a good idea because it was already painted. Ricky, where are you?
Missed opportunity.
Such a missed opportunity. It went in the trash. That's now. Oh man,
I'm surprised you didn't reinstall it.
Here's the thing. When the baseboard, when the baseboard was originally put in, it's that cheap particle board stuff. It's not real solid wood. So when I was peeling it off, I mean, it was coming off. There was no, the amount of caulking that would be needed to try and fix that, not going to happen. But here's the thing. So I actually put new baseboard on, and I did it really well. Since it's a small room, I could get full pieces, so I don't have the cuts in the middle of it, and I had spacers underneath it. I did such a great job, and I was like, you know what? I've got some leftover baseboard. I'm going to surprise my wife, and so I cut the first piece on the wall that I was missing, and then I cut the piece for the toilet, and wouldn't you know, it doesn't fit behind the toilet unless I cut it in half, but I cut it in half and I got the pieces all in there and stuff. But something has happened. So I promise we'll get to the kitchen remodel portion of the show, folks. Just I'm telling a story. Something has happened since I first started putting baseboard downstairs several years ago. My small air compressor gave out on me. Gone. The way of the wind. So now the compressor that I have is a big honking sucker in the garage, and I put like a 50-foot cord on it that I can like roll out, and it's on wheels and stuff. And I wasn't going to lug that thing downstairs to like put baseboard on in the bathroom. So the baseboard is cut for the bathroom.
And leaning against the wall.
No, I put it up in the garage. And I had, have you ever put something away? Look, Ricky, I would drive you crazy. I'm driving you crazy now. I can tell you're like, your nerves, you're getting anxious. Be like, I want to punch this guy. But here's the thing. Have you ever put something away? This is the most off the rails show we've ever had starting. We might want to cut it all out. I don't know. But have you ever put something away and you're like, I'm going to put it right here so that I remember where I'm putting it?
Guilty. All the time.
Have you ever gone back later and said, where did I put that?
Guilty all the time.
I have this fear because I put the baseboard. I went to put it in the garage and I was like, I started searching for a place. I'm like, where could I put this that I'm never going to forget where it's at?
Install it. It's done.
I couldn't get the compressor downstairs. I probably could have, but like, I actually...
You can cut this out.
It's okay that you find it funny. I'm a stereotypical guy. I'm not ashamed I'm a high quick start, low follow through. All right, we're moving on. So I'm doing a kitchen remodel.
Where's the base molding now?
It's in, that's a good, I'm going to put it in this episode 38. I'm going to say where it's at so that if I ever forget, Austin, if I'm like, hey bro, where did I put my molding? And you're like, episode 38. Go listen to it. It is in my garage on top of the stereo.
You have a stereo in your garage?
Yeah. It used to be in the house.
Operational?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I'm sure it's not like, it's as ghetto as the undone baseboard is in my in my bathroom. The setup for the stereo in the garage is probably just as
It's probably
creatively installed.
An Akai turntable.
No, I wish I had. Y'all are distracting me. Kitchen remodels. Anybody that's out there, a lot of people are, they'll do kitchen remodels and they'll try and do this themselves. So what I want to do in this show, similar to what I did with the electricians, I want to do kind of a virtual walkthrough. You guys are the pros. I'm going to be the homeowner because in this situation, I actually am doing this. And you guys walk me through and tell me like what options are available and different things like that, right? Is that cool?
Yep.
Cool.
Welcome to my house. This is my kitchen. So the one thing you do need to know, in this particular remodel, I am ripping all of the cabinets out, so it'll be a blank slate. So if I'm going to do anything in my mind while everything's gone, it's the perfect time to, like, if I want to add something or upgrade or do some things like that. So you're working with a blank slate. So what do you want to know?
Do you have a basement?
I do, but it's finished. There's a portion that is unfinished. Like I could probably like pop something up from the basement, from the equipment room, and we are 85% leaning towards putting new floors down. So if I needed to like cut an access hole in the floor, I could do that if I needed to.
So you are doing the flooring as well.
I'm not. I'm gonna have somebody do
Contract it
that.
out.
I don't want it to end up like the baseboard in the bathroom.
Well, normally the flooring guys will do the base molding for you.
Yeah. I'll be like, okay, I want this kitchen done, and there's just one other place I need some molding.
I'll open with just some.
Who put those shelves there? It was me. Okay.
We'll be cutting this whole podcast out.
No way. This is gold. This is podcast gold. This is what the people tune in for. They're like, kitchen remodels? I hope they don't say anything about kitchen remodels. Winner.
So,
yes,
Mike, when it comes time to do a project in your home like that, it's pretty extensive, and there's a lot of different things involved in a kitchen remodel. It's always good to do a lot of preparation.
Yes.
A drawing is really good to do. Everybody.
I'm going to take notes while you're talking.
That's fine. Everybody can do a drawing, and anybody that's going to be involved in your project, you want to share that drawing with them so everybody's on the same page, because many things can go not so to plan as you get started on a construction project. So
that's actually where I started in the process, and this has been happening over a couple of years because we've always been like, I don't know if anyone listening is like me, where it's like someday I'm gonna do this when I get the money to do it. And so we would start thinking, I'd like get a piece of graph paper, I'd measure everything out, like, okay, here's where this is, okay, where can I move these things to try and like get that. And so over those years I kind of stumbled upon a layout that I was like comfortable with, and I would show it to the biggest, again, so far for me, the biggest thing is like, I'm getting new cabinets. So as the cabinet guys all came in, I would like show them the drawings. And I really liked when people would come in and like say, okay, like there were guys that would come in and just bid it off of the drawing. And that was okay. I mean, you know, I gave them a drawing, but something floating around in the air. Look, I'm looking at you and it's like, look, do you see it?
no, Mike, I don't.
You really don't see that. You don't see that floating right there.
No. Oh, I do.
Oh, now Mike's not crazy. Anyway, that was the guys that I really liked are the ones that came in and asked me questions and said, you know, what are you trying to accomplish here? And like, so I got some of the best ideas from people doing that. Like one lady came in and she was like, well, what if you put the fridge over here? And I was like, I never thought of that. And she's like, well, you'll probably want to do it like this. And I'm like, that gives me even more counter space, which was the main thing that I was going for. And so like it's evolved as I've gone along, but yeah, like that planning phase and like thinking about it and like, you know, looking for pictures and things that you really like. That part is fun for me. And then now I got to get to the part where we do it. And that's the part I have trouble following through on.
Well, the input from others, Mike, is a big deal because your home's normally everybody's biggest investment is their home. So you want to prepare and plan for what it is you're going to do and then execute it in a way that it's going to be safe and efficient and to be able to get your end result that you're looking for.
So while I've got you guys as plumbers, you guys are in and out of homes. We have how many plumbers now? 30 something, 32 plumbers. No, just 2 plumbers?
32.
32 plumbers out there. Like we do a lot of plumbing stuff. So we see a lot of kitchens and things like that. So one of the things that I'm looking for are suggestions. Like what types of things are available? Ricky, you have mocked my sink several times. So like I'm interested in like, you know, what kind of options are available with sinks? What's trending? Like what are some things I can do there? Like any things you guys have seen that people are doing?
What type of countertops are you thinking about going with?
Stone.
Okay.
So like a marble or granite or something like that. And I was looking at videos online. I'm probably going to take, since it's a small space, I'll probably take whatever stone I put on the counter and run that up the backsplash too. Anyway,
Gotcha.
Not that matters, but that's the kind of countertop that I will be doing. Why do you ask?
Well, because if you're doing Formica, you don't typically do an undermount sink.
Got it.
On Formica, whereas an undermount is a super nice way to go. Those that have been around for a while, you know, there's the good old self-rimming cast iron that stick up a 1/2 inch, and when water splashes on the outside, it's hard to kind of get it back into the sink. You actually have to dry it up. And so the undermount sinks are really nice because you can just wipe everything off the counters right into the sink and the disposal, chop it up, whatever.
I like that. Is that kind of standard nowadays? Like if you're going to do stone to do undermount?
That's typically what I see out there.
What about you, Mr. Ricky?
Absolutely undermount.
Okay. Undermount sink. I'm going to do an undermount sink.
There's several different types of undermounts.
Let's tell me about them then.
Well,
you guys are going to pick my sink right now.
Composite is one. That's one of the newest ones they have out on the market. A composite sink is...
The thing I worry about composite sink, or tell them what the material is in case people don't know what that is.
It's, well, I really don't know the exact makeup of the composite sink, but it's like...
Resin.
Resin-based. But you're going to talk about scratches, maybe?
Well, when I've seen those, they look really cool. Everything looks good when it's new, right? But like I've always wondered how they wear.
There's a rack base that goes in the bottom of composite sinks, so nothing really sits on the bottom. I have one.
Okay,
I like it.
But what about like when things are bumping on the side and like it seems like it reminds me of actually kind of like one of those plastic cutting boards, composite cutting boards, and I'm just imagining this thing like wearing and getting dull and like, you know, not holding up as long. Is that, I don't know, is that something I should worry about?
You know, I think it all just depends on, like the sink we've got in our home is it's a black, some type of composite, but it seems to wear very well.
Okay. How long have you had it?
Well, we've been there for 4 years. I don't know how long before it had been installed.
Right before you moved in?
Possibly, but I think it's been in longer than that.
Was I talking to you guys when, I think it was, actually, I think I was talking to you. We were talking about like people like wait until they're leaving the house to like upgrade it and make it nice. So, okay. So composite, what about another thing that I've seen is there's a sink that like kind of sticks out a bit. Like it's a white.
Oh, the farm sink.
Is that what that is?
Those
Farm
are called
sink?
farm sinks.
I don't know that my wife, like I lean a little bit more rustic in my taste of things, but my wife doesn't. And so if farmhouse sinks or farm sinks or whatever you're calling them are considered like more rustic, I'll probably lose that battle. So let's talk about the compartments inside the sink. What's the advantage or disadvantage of like one big compartment, two compartments, a 60-40, 70-30, however do you get what I'm saying? What are you guys seeing out there? What should I do so that I can go tell my wife, like, listen to episode 38. They actually said to do a farmhouse sink.
And where the base molding is.
I really have a way now to like remember where everything in my house is. I just go back and listen to the podcast. I love it. Anyway, sorry. The dividers in the sink.
Well, it all depends on how you use your sink. You know, some people like to fill one side up and then rinse. So they're washing on one side and rinsing on another. You're going to want two compartments. They also make the two compartments less deep so that you have more pan space. Those are great options if you still like the two sides. It's all about space. So if you're wanting the space and you're just rinsing off, you just go with a large single compartment sink.
Well, let's do this then, because if we take every single component and like dive into it like that, Ricky will keep rolling his eyes the way that he is. So because it's all going to come down to personal preference, right?
It's just preference.
So really think about how you use the space and what you do and like figure out what works best for you. But talk to me about some options with like, you know, faucets, because I see the touchless ones. I see like the smart faucets where you can like talk to it and like make it spit out a certain amount of water. Like what are you guys seeing out there that's like trending?
I'll go first. I'm a little bit more old school like you, a little rustic. The more things that can go wrong with these newfangled ones is not for me. I like to keep it simple.
I worry about that.
With the high neck and keep it to where I can get my pots and pans and things like that in there without scratching my sink. And it makes things a lot more easier. But there are a lot of different types of faucets out there. And
so you like high neck? Do you do the pull out sprayer?
Yes.
Pull down.
Pull down?
Pull down, not pull out.
Yeah.
Depends on what angle it's installed. Like,
It is.
Pull down.
is it always pull down?
Well, it
No.
used to be the sprayer used to pull out of the back
out.
of the faucet of the countertops back in the old days. They didn't pull out.
Well, no, I've got one of those.
The handle pulls out, but they're
But on
just,
the high neck, I could see like it
the
pulls
pull
down.
down. The
Right.
pull out ones are kind of just awkward the way they try to bend and tweak to spray and
Got
stuff.
it.
But the pull down ones are just super nice, super easy to use, super
Okay.
user friendly.
Okay, I think I'd probably lean towards that.
I'll say this. So I've had a touch faucet for about 16 years now, and it literally works
That
the
didn't
same.
exist back then.
It did. Yes, Delta is the one that I currently have, and they actually came out, I think, with the first touch style faucet. The rest of the faucets have since figured out how to do it, but Delta had the first one, and I'm like I said, 15 years, and
You said 16.
Well, 16, 15, 16,
12.
All we're doing is
17.
changing
What's your
batteries.
favorite number?
That's all we've done is had to change batteries, and it still works like a champ.
Wow.
Yeah,
Does that change your mind, Ricky?
No, not at all.
Still.
But I would like to see a picture of it, Scott.
absolutely.
So is it a high neck, like
Yeah, just like
got
Ricky
the thing,
described.
like you touch on the top or you touch on the thing? Like, do you like the touch
I love
faucet?
it. Yeah.
Like you wouldn't want to go back to having to like use a handle?
Nope, absolutely. I mean, I go to people's homes and I touch it thinking it's going to turn on, and
they look
it's
at you
actually,
weird?
It's actually fun to have people come to my house and they try to turn it on and off, and it scares them because water turns on, and they get messing with my handle. I'm like, don't touch the handle. That's set where I want the water, and just touch it, and it'll turn on for you.
Don't touch my stuff anyway.
Don't touch the handle. Just
You
touch
go
it.
to Ricky's house, take your shoes off and don't touch a thing.
Oh, you absolutely have shoes off.
You got any chime in on faucets?
I kind of like to be up to current. I like to try the latest and greatest myself, and so
Have you guys tried the ones where you can say, hey, pour me 4 ounces of
I
water?
probably will.
I've got one in a
because-
box.
You've got one in a box?
It's going in.
You're going to
I'm
put
also doing a remodel, so
it in? Ooh.
it's going in.
Well, that's good to
Yeah.
know.
It is good to
Yeah,
know.
when I was
Podcasts.
researching a
Yeah.
few months ago, because of the COVID thing, I personally kind of like the Moen brand,
Uh-huh.
but because of the COVID thing, they were not available yet. I mean, it's just they're
The
brand
speaking
new.
ones?
Yeah, the talk to ones, and so I kind of I was all ready to drop my credit card and order one, but because of the delay and the backlog, I kind of held back, and so I kind of lost that interest right now. But my faucet needs to be changed. The push button's got the rubber thing missing, and
So I've always wondered about this. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard that like the less expensive faucets that you can get at the hardware store, because I mean a lot of people they'll go and they'll get something as inexpensive as they can. Tell me the difference in like if I go to the big box store and grab an inexpensive faucet compared to like something that you get like at a plumbing supply house. Is there a difference in those things? What are those differences? Some faucets feel like they're made of plastic. Some of them feel like they're made of metal. Like, tell people, what's going. Tell them what's up.
Yeah, they're definitely different.
How?
There's a lot more plastics, different kinds of plastics that are in it. I mean, plastic is kind of where we're at nowadays, but different types of plastic. I can speak for like Moen. If you go into like a large store, hardware store, you're going to find Moen brand still there. But if you look at the name of what they call it, you won't be able to find that in the supply house necessarily. You'd have to go online and order it from their website. And they do make them different. They make them specifically for those large box stores.
the big box stores sell so many that they can dictate the manufacturing processes of those. They're so huge.
And so are you able to get, like, even when you go to the big box store and you say like, okay, well, I got some money to put into this project, I'll get the nicest one they have at the big box store. Are you still like getting plastic like fixtures? Are they still going to be nicer at the plumbing supply house?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
100%.
I don't know on the high end ones, but being able to have that warranted and taken care of, when you go through a plumber in a supply house, the parts are readily available. Where when you go through the big box stores, they have the faucet there, but they have these universal repair kits to try to match up all the hundreds of styles of faucets. It just doesn't work.
Is there something written on the box that if like, excuse me, that like would say like how much of it's plastic and how much of it's metal? Like, is there anything that they could look for when they're like trying to purchase something, or it's just like,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
roll them dice? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So what other things are in the kitchen that we've talked about? Garbage disposals before. We've got the different noise and different powers, so we don't have to like, belabor that one. We talked what was our last episode? What was our last plumbing episode? Repipes. That's what we were talking about. And so we were talking about running water lines for the ice maker. Right now I have a line coming from my RO system going to my ice maker, and I'm relocating the fridge, so I've got to like run that line to a different spot now. Here was my idea, and you guys tell me if this is like really dumb, because I have dumb ideas sometimes, but sometimes they're brilliant. You remember that time I told you something and you were like, Mike, that's genius.
It usually happens about 4 times an episode, doesn't it?
I better get started because like I'm off to it. I haven't hit one yet. No, but okay. So when I installed my water line, I had an unfinished basement. I ended up with a leak in it, and like I had a flood down in the. It didn't do anything up top because the little pinhole in the tubing that's going to it, the little pinhole was like dripping. Why are you smiling? What did I do wrong?
Who did the plumbing?
So I ran a tube from the thing.
One line he ran for the ice maker, right?
What would you do?
Well, no, and that's the one that leaked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But why?
Well, I was just curious why you didn't have a licensed plumber come and do it.
Oh, because the basement was finished, and it was literally an afterthought, and it was as easy as like taking that thin tube and creating a leak in my basement. There are things I was capable. I am also going to be running my new line, and since I knew that it leaked, but it didn't leak after I fixed it, because I fixed it
Right.
by cutting that piece out and.
Right.
I do think that's a great point, though. If you're remodeling your kitchen, that is one of the most common areas for water failure, like leaks to happen, is in the ice maker line.
The tubing.
The tubing. If you're not buying the proper tubing, and if it's a really thin, or if it's run improperly and it's rubbing against something, it will fail. And we see lots of floods happen because of that. So that's a big deal.
Good. I'm glad you're saying
So it's a really good time to put a permanent shut-off valve and everything behind the sink or behind the fridge.
Well, but that's
But you want your RO water in.
Yeah. So do you put a shut off going to like coming from that to the RO? Is that what you do? Here was my thought. Let me tell you my plan.
Gotcha.
And then you guys tell me if I'm up in the night. I may have bought the wrong kind of tubing. I don't know, but it's like been working ever since.
Don't ever do the clear plastic tubing.
What kind of plastic tubing should you do?
There's a PEX one, copper.
Yeah, but PEX, do they make it like super small?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's probably what I should do.
Mm-hmm.
There's a box that you put in the wall behind your refrigerator to do it properly with a shutoff where your lines can run in. It's actually a box.
Coming
Especially
from the RO system?
you can run your lines into the box, and then you attach your ice maker line into the box in the wall.
Okay, cool. Well, let me tell you how I was going to get ghetto and solve this problem. Because I assumed that, like, since it is so common that, like, those ice maker lines, like, leak. Now, do they leak if they're, like, the PEX tubing?
Not as often.
Not as often. Because my thought was I would run PEX in the wall, going over to it, and use it like this. I'm imagining, okay, it goes this way and then like that, and then it'll be there. I'm imagining running a bigger piece of PEX tubing and using it kind of like being an electrician. You know, you run Smurf tube up in the attic so you can like fish things down. So I was going to run that PEX tube a little bit bigger and then run my water line in there so that if it ever did leak or something happened, I could pull it out and like fish a new one over.
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either.
It's a good
But Ricky,
idea.
like you had a look on
He's
your
kind
face.
of rolling his eyes
Gonna
over
run
there.
a chase line for an ice maker line?
It leaked on me once.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I wouldn't have to do it, but I'm sitting here thinking like if it's one of the most common things that leak and I have a history of like it leaking, I was sitting there just trying. I thought I was doing a good thing, Ricky.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Just put a box in the wall, run your line to it, and
All right. I might still do my idea.
I'm gonna send you a little video or link over to your email so you can look at how that's done.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Send it to me. What else? Anything else we should add? Anything other? Dwayne, you talked last time about the faucets over the stovetop. You really like yours.
Yeah.
They're super nice. I mean, it's one of those things, like Scott was saying, that, you know, now that he has the touch faucet, that becomes the norm, you know, and I'm thinking, well, would I really ever use it? Am I going to accidentally bump it when I don't want to? Yeah, you probably do, you know, and it's going to turn on and get your arms wet when you didn't want it to, but you get used to it and you learn how to do it. But the pot filler was the same. You know, my wife said, nope. She didn't want one. Let's not use that expense. And I went ahead and roughed in and put one in anyway. And then when we moved to the new house, it doesn't have one. And she's like, wow, I really miss the pot filler. It was really nice to have.
So the last thing that I've seen becoming more popular, and it seems like it's more of a novelty, but I wanted to get y'all's opinion on it. Have you seen those? It's a glass washer, essentially, like where it goes in one of the holes on the sink, that one of the knockouts, and it's got a little lip that falls into the sink, and you put a cup or a glass on it, and it shoots water up into it to like clean it. And the water, when it comes down, it flows into the sink. But like, I don't, y'all never seen it?
I'm Googling
Never heard
it.
of it.
Never heard of it. That is awesome, though. What a great idea.
I was trying to see, like, if you guys had any experience with them, maybe that's going to replace the water line with the most troublesome component in your system that leaks.
Might do.
Mr. Ricky, did you have something?
I was thinking about the faucet. What if you have a pet? If they touch it, does it turn on when you're not home?
I don't know. I don't have a pet that gets on my counter.
I would think no.
Okay.
Unless you train them to, because the only the eye rolls, like I'm not sure why I'm like.
Well, and it does know the difference between a touch and a grab. Like I can grab it and move it, and it won't turn on and off.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
Okay.
yeah, and I would think it would know the difference. It's more with your skin.
From a cat paw.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if
From
he
a
used his
human
paw.
paw. Yeah.
I mean, if
it
not,
used it, I could see it if it used its paw.
It might work.
Tap tap.
I have a bangle. They're pretty smart.
You have a bangle?
Hey, maybe he needs a drink, man.
Oh,
Let him get his own drink.
I was just curious, thinking about the touchless faucet.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Let's say that if someone, Ricky, we all have, not me, you guys have a lot of experience being plumbers, doing a lot of kitchen remodels, but like Ricky, you were saying like you used to like contract these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's actually talk to people. If you are not comfortable doing this yourself and you want to select a contractor to contract your kitchen remodel that you're doing, what suggestions do you have for them for finding a good contractor that's going to do that? And like, what are the advantages of using a contractor?
In my 40 years of experience, referral based is always the best. Somebody that's already used somebody and they have had an experience with them. And you can check several different avenues online of license numbers, Better Business Bureaus, things like that to get a reference. And you always want your contractor to give you referrals of work that they've done, because as a contractor myself, I had a lot of people that loved showing off some of the projects that I had performed. Those are 4 good avenues to explore right away, and make sure that when they come to your home, that you should be able to tell that they're truly interested in your project and taking care of you.
Any red flags that people should like avoid? Like, hey, if he walks in and does this, if they try and talk you out of permitting it.
Well, trucks, I know that you're supposed to have your name and phone number and license number on your vehicles and things like that of your company.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're following the rules and this is what you do for a living, you would take pride in having that on your vehicles. I was a little particular, and I'd like to see what a person's vehicle looked like when they came to my house to give me options for things like that. I would actually look in their truck to see what kind of organizational skills that they had. I'm pretty picky compared to most, I would think.
Yeah. All your bathrooms have all the baseboard installed?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm finding out that most people do. My wife goes to people's houses and she's like, have you been over to the Johnsons? All of their bathrooms have the baseboards installed.
I have an installed baseboard at my house.
You have uninstalled? My man.
Due diligence is definitely a must when it comes to having people in your home to perform work.
Got it. Now, there are certain people that are like, I'm going to save money. I'm not going to pay a contractor to do that stuff for me. I'm going to be the contractor. So let's walk people through. Let's say that is you. Different strokes for different folks, right? What are, I kind of want to give people an outline. And when I say people an outline, I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing. I need to know what order this stuff needs to happen.
You already told your wife you knew, though.
Yeah, but she doesn't listen to the show, so she'll never know. As long as I know by the time it needs to happen, I'm good. I'll just be like, never mind. Okay.
Scott, you're in the middle of a kitchen remodel. Why don't you open up with that?
Well, I remodel much differently than most folks because we go for it and we change our mind as we go.
No, you
We're not
skip
really
the planning phase.
Yeah, well, we plan, but then once we get into it, we see a different idea, and it just changes. But planning is really important. Before you start your demo work, because that will be the first phase is demo work, you're going to want to make sure that your utilities are secure. What I mean by that is from a plumbing standpoint, you're going to be tearing out your cabinets. You need to make sure that your water lines are able to be shut off in a way that you can pull those cabinets out and put new cabinets in. I recommend taking the shut-off valves completely off. It will make for a nicer finish for the new cabinetry. A lot of times you'll see people leave those on and then you'll have a massive hole. So I'd recommend you get in there and you cut those out and cap them properly so that you can remove that.
Okay. What else? Like on mine, here's the thing. On mine, again, it was built in the 30s and it has been repiped since. And they ran PEX and they ran them up out of the bottom of the cabinet, and it goes to PEX, and then it's got like this copper thing that comes off of it, and then the shut-off valve is attached to it. Is that normal? Because like part of me thinks that like it's not done right, but like I don't know. Like does that sound right?
I would have to see a picture of it.
Yeah, I'd say I can't envision it.
Yeah.
All right.
So probably not.
I mean, there's different ways to transition from. I mean, they just transitioned from PEX to copper. It sounds like, and put on a copper shut-off valve, and one that's designed for copper. But they do make PEX ones as well.
Got it.
But like Scott was saying, on that you would definitely want to take off the shut-off valve and cap it so that then the old one can be removed.
Should I uninstall that and have the PEX coming up through the wall, or like what should I? What is the right in a new house? How would the plumbing be coming to under a sink?
Usually it'll be coming out of the floor, especially in the kitchen. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And mainly
Always
because it's on an outside wall and you don't want water lines freezing and stuff.
Got it. Mine's not on an outside wall. Mine's on a inside wall. So if that doesn't make a difference. So coming up out of the bottom, that's okay. They'll just notch around where that is, and the notches should be smaller if they're just going around the PEX.
Correct.
Whew, man, okay, that's stressful.
It's not a notch, just a round hole.
They can just drill the holes.
Set the cabinet.
They notched this one.
Probably because the shut-off valves were left on it.
Yeah, and the big.
Well, but if they're coming up from the floor and they're, I get what you're saying. It was easier to notch and slide in rather than feed them. Ooh,
right.
That's good. Good advice. Okay. Okay. So that's in the demo. What next? What's the next part? The cabinets are taken out. What's the next step? Sheetrock patch, running the wires, running the new plumbing and stuff. Like what goes next?
Anything that's going to go inside the walls, Mike, make sure you get for future outlets that we talked about for appliances up on the countertop and things like that.
You can check out episode 36 if you want to check out electrical stuff with that.
Anything that's your pot filler over the stove, anything that's going to go inside the walls that's going to be covered up, you want to get that in now, stubbed out and ready so you can re-insulate if you've had to pull any insulation out, and get your sheetrock back up, and then that way you can start setting your cabinets and things like that.
Okay, so run everything, get the sheetrock work done, patches, things like that. Do you paint before cabinets or after cabinets?
It really is preference. I would definitely paint before.
Okay.
That's me. Especially if you're spraying it. If you're rolling it on, it could be either way, but I would do that beforehand.
Do it before. Okay.
Lot less trim you have to tape off and and everything over beautiful brand new granite and countertops and
Okay.
cabinets and things.
Okay, so demo, sheetrock, paint, cabinets next get installed
Yep.
without the countertops on or with the countertops on.
They'll go in without. They're
Yeah,
kind of two
sorry.
separate pieces.
The cabinets will go in, but then do you immediately next put the countertops on? Is that the next step after the cabinets go in?
Well, if you're going with any kind of a composite or anything that's going to be built, they come in. The contractor
measure
comes
it.
in and measures it, checks the levels, and does all that. And at that point, then you give your sinks, and you have to kind of know what faucets you're using by that point, and you have to have your sinks
Gotcha.
to give to the countertop people, because they will then cut the proper opening, finish it off, drill your holes.
Do you give do you need to have the sinks purchased and give them the sinks and faucets, or do you just say, here's what I'm getting? Is it best to give
Can
it to
go
them?
either way. It kind of depends on the contractor, I think. I think some will use templates, but others actually want.
Ricky,
the
you have
sink.
some opinions?
I've always wanted my customers to have every single thing that I was going to install on the site. That way I could see it and know what they want, and so there's no errors.
Got it.
You know, one thing to be aware of, like you said earlier, that you were going to plan on using the same countertop material that was left over for your backsplash.
Yes.
Sometimes that can be anywhere from an inch to an inch and a half thick, which affects where they place that sink and where they drill the holes for the faucets.
Oh,
My
gotcha.
contractor that I had on my remodel, I got home and they put the hole. I mean, the backsplash was covering the hole, and it's like, well, how am I the plumber going to put my faucet in there when the backsplash is covering half of the hole? And I'm like, what brain did the guy have when they put that up there and didn't, and they drilled it. They set, they put the sinks in underneath, and it's like,
Did they
So-
make it right after the fact?
no.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Okay, so yes.
Choosing your people in your home to do your work is imperative.
Yeah. Question about, let's say that I wasn't doing the backsplash out of the same countertop material. If you were doing a tile backsplash, does that go on after countertops, before countertops?
After countertops.
After countertops, okay.
Yep.
So we got that done. When the countertops go in, I'm assuming if they have the sink, then the countertop people install the sink, or is the sink installed by the plumber?
The countertop company in the granite scenario you're talking about, they'll install the sink.
But they don't do any of the like drain hookups or
Nope.
anything like that.
Yep, that's your plumber.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so what's the next step then? So I guess then the plumbing comes in and gets done. The finish. Is it time for finish stuff now? Like get appliances in, get the plumbing in, get all that stuff, or does flooring come next?
I do flooring last.
After appliances are in and after everything is done?
You're gonna have a dishwasher and all your other appliances you're gonna have in. Usually the flooring will butt up to it. A lot of people run their flooring underneath as well. I always ran my flooring underneath my range, but not the dishwasher.
Okay. After flooring, well, I guess after the countertops and sink, plumbing and electrical, does that pretty much wrap it up? Like, is it done now? Or is there more stuff after that I'm not thinking of?
Well, you got to do all your under sink piping and things like that for your drains and
Is that
tying your
not
water.
done when the plumber comes in to do that stuff?
Did you already say the plumber was in? And
Well,
took
yeah,
care of that?
after the countertops and sink is in,
Right.
you
Then
have the plumber,
Yep.
the plumbing done. I assume the
Correct.
drains and all the
Yes.
supply and the drains are done at that time.
Yep.
Electricians come in and put the outlets on and do the finish stuff that way.
That's really it.
Painting touch up.
Yeah,
and,
paint touch up.
Okay.
Because somebody
and
probably
caulking,
scratched something.
Caulking any of the surfaces that, depending on who does the backsplash and things like that,
Man, that's-
running the caulking. And
I'm realizing that's how people get in trouble. When we sit here and we line those things out, they go, that sounds easy. I can do this. It's not that easy.
Well, I mean, and then, one thing to think about too is, like right now here in Utah, we're under a building boom. There's just so much building going on. And if you try to get a contractor out, they're so busy right now that you might be backlogged for quite a while. And when you try to do your own contracting sometimes, and you're trying to set up those subs, everybody that every neighbor that oh, this guy, he delayed me, and the countertops didn't come in, so my tile guy couldn't come in, or the flooring guy couldn't come in, and then the flooring guy delays, and so and it pushes everything back, and then that window that the contractor had set up suddenly disappears for another 6 weeks, and you're stuck with and these projects where you think, oh, I can do my kitchen and be without it. We can stand to being without it for 2 weeks, right? It doesn't work that way. If you're doing a whole complete remodel on it, when you start involving all these different contractors and subs, and I mean, even if you have a general, they still run into that same problem. Well, my sub got delayed, he got sick, things happen, the material didn't come in. Right now, lumber prices are just skyrocketing in the last 6 months, partially because of all the hurricanes and the weather and all the rebuilding that needs to take place. That affects the things. I mean, we just had a huge winds here in Utah a month ago or so, and you couldn't find a generator, because they were all gone between the hurricanes. And I mean, there were not generators available, along with the COVID and the shipping and everything else. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors that can come into play.
Well, I know we want to get you guys off to doing other things besides just sitting on the show. What else? Is there anything else that people need to know, that maybe we haven't touched on? Kitchen remodels, final thoughts?
I just was going through my notes. One thing that I did not bring up is when you're doing a project on your home, you have to cordon off the rest of your home for the construction project, because of the dust and all the things that will get all over everything throughout your home and your air system as well. So always try to partition off your work area so it's everything's contained in that area.
Good advice.
I like, one thing we didn't talk about if you're thinking about a whole remodel is, hey, do I have room for an island out here in the middle that I could either put a sink in or gain extra storage, or just even a countertop? Super cool when you can put a sink in there and turn that into your prep area. You're somewhere in between your fridge and your stove. Is pretty awesome when you can sit there and do all your prep and chopping, everything else, throw things down the garbage disposal there, and then immediately move that material right over to the stove from your fridge to the stove. And that's, you talked about earlier about different people coming out with different ideas. I mean, you can Google, and there's layouts that they say, the V pattern, the W pattern, for ease of bringing in your food and not having to, and it's nice to have counter space right next to your fridge so you can put all your sacks right there and unload and things. But an island is a really, really good thing. And then we didn't talk about one other nice upgrade would be the Insta-Hot water heaters. If you like tea and coffee and things like that, you can hot soups and stuff. You can.
Well, before the show, like Scott mentioned it, but he mentioned it in a way that made me think that he was mocking me.
No, absolutely. I would never even consider.
I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring it up and be like, am I going to be walking into a buzzsaw here? Insta-Hot, Mike, that's not even a real thing.
But that's something.
What is it?
Well, they're just little instantaneous water heaters that plug in, but you need to have power at that time. It's a great time to do it. You need to have power, and then you'll also need to have especially if you're going with the hard surface, granite or that type of thing, you'll have to have an extra hole drilled into it and things, because typically we as plumbers, we don't want to drill holes in people's countertops. For one, we don't have the material. There's a liability. Let's let countertop people do their thing and put those holes in and stuff, because we just don't have the right tools to do it. And the normal homeowner probably doesn't either. And some of those, the surface, the Corian surfaces and stuff like that, some of them are very brittle, and you can end up with fractures and cracks and things like that.
Gotcha. Anything else?
Islands, Insta-Hots, all those things are
Gas to a stove.
change the increase the value for resale. All those little extra things like that, because kitchen is a big item that's looked at when resale.
Gas to a stove. What were you saying, Dwayne?
Yeah, I mean, good time to, if you're remodeling, change it from an electric to a gas stove or a dual fuel stove.
Yep.
You've already got the power there. If you've got an electric, all you need to do is bring a gas line in and the dual fuel.
It's comments like that make it sound so simple. All you gotta do is bring a gas line in.
I would really like to see the start point with him and the end point.
I'll let you come and check it out. You mean you want to see my kitchen before and then after?
No, I was thinking of my tenure coming up when you would be finished with that thing.
Oh, you think my kitchen remodel is going to last forever?
Podcast number 138.
Guys,
What did you say
still
about
working on the
backsplash on podcast 38? When does
Where's that molding? Where's that trim?
I get it now.
It's on top of the turntable.
It's not turntable, but I did.
This is a great podcast.
I think so. Nothing. Okay, I'm gonna rap. Not rap like.
Do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap the show because that's the show. We'll be back next Tuesday. Yeah, give me a beat and I'll end us.
I'm not the beat guy.
No, you're not. Oh, that's awesome though. We'll be back next Tuesday with another episode of In the House. If you'd like to know more about Any Hour Services, visit anyhourservices.com. Thanks so much, guys, for all of your input on the show. I've been your host, Mike Wilson, and you've been listening to In the House.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.